characters. Like, do you know the characters? Like Kramer, George, Elaine,
I know Kramer.
Jerry.
He had a meltdown.
He's a nigger, Jerry.
I know Jerome.
Who the fuck is Jerome, nigga?
Jerome Seinfeld.
That's crazy. Who's Jerome?
That's his name.
Jerry.
His name's Jerome.
Is it really?
You didn't know this?
Don't. What?
You didn't know this.
His actual Jerry is short for Jerome. Jerome Allen Seinfeld. That's the blackest motherfucker. Other than the Seinfeld nigga, you tell me Jerome Allen? Yo, these niggas. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. Anyways.
His name is Jerome.
What?
I know about him and Kramer.
All right, stop calling him Jerome.
That's the name.
It's fucking me up. Nobody calls Jerry Seinfeld Jerome Seinfeld. I'm gonna have nightmares about that. Jerome. We'll get into it in a second. Let me finish promoting shows. 28th, Scarborough is a joke. You can't buy tickets to that because that bitch is sold out, niggas. So Scarborough, we coming, and I'm very excited for that show. And the 31st, I got the Nubian show downtown Toronto. Yuck Yucks. Grab your tickets. yuckyucks.com. Show promos done. The people that actually fucks with you, they just hit the like button or they just keep coming back. That's how I use YouTube. So I had to actually think about that. I'm like, wait a second. I fucks with a lot of this shit, but I never leave a comment. I very rarely hit the like button. So this is why I don't beg. Like I just say, do it if you fucks with it. But at the same time, second season's about to wrap up. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But I think the one show that I can't believe, bro. Like, do you notice anything different about the set?
Yeah, I did notice. We got like 8 different DVDs on the set.
But they're all the same shit.
7.
Shout out to this bald Jew right here, Larry David.
Whoa.
What? He's a bald Jew.
Okay.
Nigga, there's nothing wrong with saying what he actually is. Larry David is a bald Jew and a fucking hilarious human being. Curb Your Enthusiasm is wrapping up its final season. 12 seasons, bro.
So there's supposed to be 12 of them?
There's 7 here. This is when DVDs kind of like, they stopped at 7, and honestly, the show was kind of done there, and they took years off. And then Larry just like, yo, Larry has so much pull in Hollywood that he's just like, I'm pretty sure they just had a revolving door. They said, whenever you want to come back and do it.
Yeah.
He always said he was interested in doing more, and then eventually they came back. I was like, this season can't be good. They took so much time off. Then eventually season 8, fucking great. Season 9, great. Season 10, great. 11, great. 11 was might be one of the weaker of the newer ones.
Okay.
So I was skeptical going into this new season, the final season.
Season 12.
Bruh. This shit is gangbusters, bro. If you're a comedy fan and you don't know what Curb Your Enthusiasm is, I highly suggest you go check that shit out. If you do know what it is, but you haven't watched it, especially if you're a Seinfeld fan, I don't even know how the fuck that works. Probably all the Seinfeld fans have seen Curb. Larry David is half responsible for Seinfeld, but I personally would say he's 80 to 90% responsible for the funny of Seinfeld. I know that sounds crazy, maybe, but if you understand the history of Seinfeld, if you understand the writing style, it wasn't like, because I hated Seinfeld when it first came out on television, because it's the whole, did you watch Seinfeld?
No.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And this past year, like, yeah, like you probably won't go back and watch that. If you like comedy sitcoms, it still holds up. I was too young when I first tried to watch it. It was all like adult situations and stuff, so I had no frame of reference. And then I got a little bit older. Even as just like a late teen, I started to really like catch on. I'm like, oh, this show's fucking hysterical. And then eventually it just became one of my favorite shows of all time. And then it went off the air. I never really was watching it as it was live on air. I watched reruns, and then eventually I just saw it like DVDs. And then it went off the air and all that stuff. Then years later, Curb Your Enthusiasm started. The first season is meh, like it's okay. They're figuring it out. The second season, it's still serviceable. Yeah. Second season, they're starting to
serviceable. That's great.
Like but like I don't know if you're a fan of Seinfeld, like you saw that first season out, but it wasn't what that show is known to be.
What's your favorite season?
Damn. I will say right now, season 7.
Okay.
And I will explain why in a moment. But like 3, 4, damn, like 6 is fucking gangbusters. Just looking at the shelf fills me with so much nostalgia. Yeah, 7 was just so well done, and it was mind blowing for me in terms of TV writing and production, and I'll explain why in a minute. But so as soon as Curb aired, is when I immediately realized that nothing of the show Seinfeld that I loved had anything to do with Seinfeld. Like even in terms of lining up my favorite characters, like do you know the characters like Kramer, George, Elaine,
I know Kramer.
Jerry?
He had a meltdown.
He's a nigger, Jerry.
I know Jerome.
Who the fuck is Jerome, nigga?
Jerome Seinfeld.
That's crazy. Who's Jerome?
That's his name.
Jerry.
His name's Jerome.
Is it really?
You didn't know this?
Don't. What?
You didn't know this.
His actual Jerry is short for Jerome.
Yeah.
Don't.
Jerome Seinfeld. I'm surprised you didn't know
No,
this.
I gotta look this up
This
real
is common
quick.
knowledge.
Jerome Seinfeld with a G or no J, right?
Yeah.
Jerome Seinfeld. Jerome Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld. Jerome Allen Seinfeld. That's the blackest motherfucker. Other than the Seinfeld nigga, you tell me Jerome Allen? Yo, these niggas. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but you can really see the Hebrew Israelite history in all of Jewish culture, bro. You're telling me. Anyways.
His name is Jerome.
What?
I know about him and Kramer.
All right, stop calling him Jerome.
That's his name!
It's fucking me up. Nobody calls Jerry Seinfeld Jerome. Jerome Seinfeld might be the name of this episode. Jerome Seinfeld. Can you write that down so I don't forget? That's fucking crazy. I'm gonna have nightmares about that shit. Jerome. Yeah, he was my least favorite character. Like Kramer. It went back and forth, but Kramer and George are easily the best characters on that show.
George
Costanza.
Okay, I know about that.
And George is actually loosely based off of Larry David. So
Larry David's not in the show.
Larry David's not in the show. Larry David is a creator of the show and a writer for the show.
Is he in Curb?
Yeah, he's the star of Curb.
Okay.
And the writer and everything.
Okay.
But in Seinfeld, he was mostly producer, writer.
Okay, got it.
He would act. He's all over the show,
Mhm.
but he played like faceless roles. He played like a fucking hot dog cart vendor.
Yeah, he was
or
like a cameo.
Or the most famous role is actually not a cameo. He played George Steinberg, who was the New York Yankees manager at the time. So, but they would always show him from the back, and and actually looking back at it, knowing the Larry from Curb, he was just playing himself too. Like he was playing a heightened version of himself. It's so fucking hilarious. So the show Curb came out, and then I'm like, oh, all of the writing that I enjoyed from Seinfeld was Larry. Mm-hmm. All of the characters was Larry. My favorite like episodes and scenarios, the most memorable lines and all that shit was fucking Larry, bro. I like it immediately diminished what Jerry Seinfeld was to me because already I didn't like his stand up, but I gave him a lot of credit because I'm like, damn, bro, that show's iconic, but. No, that show's not iconic. Larry David is iconic. And you could fight me in the comments if you fucking want to. I don't give a fuck, nigga. Seinfeld is boring. What's the deal with airline peanuts? Shut up. Fucking garbage ass shit. Observational ass. Like, bro, they're not even good observations. What? I'm not going to start doing this. Anyways, Curb. The show takes a couple seasons to really pick up. This show is deeply integrated to me and my comedy career. Okay. This show is when I was in my car accident. This show is when I was bedridden. This is a show that made me realize, I've always had a passion for comedy. Why don't it literally Curb? I should have brought the book off the bookshelf. I have the fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm book. So I was bedridden from a car accident. I'm just watching all comedy. I'm just studying comedy at this point, starting to have the realization. I'm like, well, this has been a part of my life, my entire life. Mm-hmm. And I've always been funny. Like, why don't I pursue this? I'm watching Curb, then I buy the book, and the book is what made me realize is like, oh, the show is all improvised. So Seinfeld was completely scripted, but Curb. So what they do is they have a complete season story arc. So there's a story arc that overlaps every episode, minor, and every episode has a brief, like breakdown.
Yeah, like a summary.
Exactly. Yeah. And other than that, everything is improvised. And when that's what made me realize is like, damn, bro, like I started with improv before I did stand-up. I did improv for about 6 months. It's because Curb. So I get really into the show. This is when I bought the box sets, bro. I'm like, fuck this. I went on eBay. Bro, I'll never forget this. I went on eBay and I bought them all brand new. I got them and like 3 of the cases were fucking cracked in the inside. I got all that shit for half off, bro. I was so happy. I got one, two. I'm about to count 7. I got the 7 box sets. I got the 7 box sets for like $50, brand new, just some cracked plastic. The discs were fine.
Yeah.
And they've been a prized possession. I've sold so much of my DVD collection, but I've kept obviously the Chappelle Show, Boondocks, like Curb, the stuff that really is impactful and meaningful. But bruh, so getting to the 7th season, which was the original finale for Curb. Since you're not a Seinfeld fan, I'll explain. Seinfeld was a beloved show. The season finale or the series finale, like universally hated, universally shat on. The premise is a really good premise. Essentially, what happens is they found a clever way to write them off. They all go to jail, and then the show ends. But the problem is that the way they went about it was like a 2-parter. It was so popular as a show, they aired it in Times Square, like on the big fucking TV in Times Square. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a 2-parter, but the problem is that they brought in all the fan favorite characters to do like these testimonies in court against the 4, and it felt like almost like like a best of highlight and not like a Seinfeld episode. Which if this is the series finale, like do the best, like write the best fucking shit you can and focus in on the characters. And that's what I think, my personal opinion, that's why I think most people fucking hated it, because like it started off so great, the premise was so great, and the idea of the show ending because they went to jail, fucking beautiful. And they could have done a reunion where they get out of jail, all this stuff, like like years later. But again, they went off air and to a lot of, and it just sat like that until Curb. And then Curb just started gaining all this momentum. And then eventually they got to the 7th season. And what Larry David did, this is where he cemented himself to me as one of the GOAT fucking writers. He made the whole 7th. So remember how I told you there's a overarching story for the season? The complete 7th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, because that show is actually grounded in reality. It's Larry David. He's not playing a character. Okay. And it's like all these actors that come in as themselves. Okay. You know what I mean? But they're still playing character, like a character version of themselves. Yeah. But it's based in real life. They live in LA. They're going to work on their shows. They mention what shows. They go to NBC and have meetings with executives, all that shit. So, they do, as season 7 for Curb, the entire season is essentially a reunion of Seinfeld. He writes the whole show as, hey, we should do the reunion episode of Seinfeld. Okay. But the whole season of Curb Your Enthusiasm is them doing the reunion episode of Seinfeld. So what you actually get by the end of season 7 of Curb is a full episode of Seinfeld, because they filmed it. Okay. Because like I said, it's grounded in realism. So what they did was they got the whole crew together. They got all the old Seinfeld cast and crew together. They did they filmed it like they would film Curb, but really it's like a behind the scenes. It felt like a behind the scenes of Seinfeld, the round tables. They even went so far as to, in the storyline, like George, who's played by Jason Alexander, the actor, they have a falling out or whatever, and Larry's like, fuck it. Like the character George is based on me. I'll play George. Okay. So they do this whole scene where Larry, it's like a weird mind fuck, because now George was Larry anyways, but now Larry is playing George, who is Larry. Yeah. Ho! George is getting upset. And he's like doing all the George mannerisms, but that Jason Alexander did, which are still based off Larry. Like it's, and they got the whole set, like they recreated the set and all that stuff. Bro, they fucking... When they ended, I'm like, amazing. Like they made up for the Seinfeld finale. They ended this show beautifully. Yeah. And when they said that Curb is coming back, I'm like, ah. But it was Larry, so I'm like, okay, let's see this out, bro. It came back cleaner. Okay. Like 4K. It definitely looks sharper, but the feel of the show is still there. And some of the cast has died. So like Funkhauser, who was Super Dave Osborne. I don't know if you know this guy. He was a comedic, he was a comedic personality. He was like a fake stuntman back in the 70s, 80s. Like, you know, not Rodney Dangerfield.
Evil Knievel.
Evil Knievel and shit like this. He was literally a spoof of Evil Knievel. Okay. There's a really fucking funny like Jimmy Kimmel ended up using him later on in his career, or like years after when he got popular on Curb. He would start doing Super Dave Osborne skits like they used to do back in the 70s. It's so fucking funny. He's like, there's this basketball one. He's like, I built this device to help me dunk. And it's like literally a hospital bed almost on a spring.
Oh, and then he goes.
So he lays on it, and then they fucking release it, and he just smashes into the fucking backboard, the glass backboard. Like just comedically, it plays out so funny. Yeah, so the show came back gangbusters, and I'm like, oh, now they're actually doing the. He said this is it. Season 12 we're wrapping up Curb, not coming back, and there are 7 episodes in. I just caught up, and they're going down that route again. But
which route?
The route of they haven't introduced any. Well, yes.
Oh shit.
So Larry is now like the way they explained it in the first episode. He had to go to Atlanta for something. And I don't know if this is a real law or not. Can you look this up? If it's illegal to give people water who are standing in line, that can't be real. That has to be a fucking. But I could see it's America, so I could see some weird shit like that being a thing. Essentially, he went there during election time. They were having a by-election or something in Atlanta, and he gave one of the
line?
Yeah, and he gave one of the characters who was standing in line a bottle of water. And apparently, in the show, they made it out that was illegal. And so he goes through this whole thing, and he becomes like this national sensation. And it looks like it's leading up to Larry going to jail. They haven't wrapped the season yet. It's still episode 7. But the way they're building it up, it looks like they're like he's making like the way the 7th season of Curb made up for the clusterfuck that was the end of Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's again going back down the road of I'm gonna go to jail. Like I'm gonna do the same premise, but I'm gonna make up for it. And this season has been one of my favorites. Like it started off a little slow. Like the first episode, I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna make it. Second episode in, I was like in tears, like tears. Which states ban giving food and water to voters at polling places? Oh my god! So this is this is real. This is on Snopes.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, but if it's on Snopes, doesn't that mean it's not real?
I don't know. What is Snopes?
In March 2021, controversy surrounded Senate Bill 202, a bill in Georgia that would which is where Atlanta is, which would bar outside actors from giving food or water directly to voters waiting in line at polling places. Can you just scroll down, like where it says if this is true or not? It should say at the very bottom. Just scroll all the way down. Scroll up to a title. Like, is there a title before all these blurbs? Anyways, potentially this is real. Either way, there's precedent for. Now I see where they got the premise from. Mm-hmm. Whether it's real or not, like it's been talked about, which is crazy. Apparently, this bill 202, that's crazy. So, like, there's Larry's fucking genius. They find some actual real bullshit. That I love Curb, bro. I love Curb. It's one of my favorite comedy shows of all time. And probably I put it over Seinfeld now, 100%. Okay. Like, as much as I love the characters of Seinfeld, all of them, like, what Curb is as a complete package, and it shines the light on Larry, who, to me, is Seinfeld, which is hilarious.
This is Black Zeus, the podcast season 5.
I love y'all. Thank you for supporting. Once again, the Patreon is launched. If you do want to watch my comedy special right now, you can do so. It's only $10, and you can get it as part of the subscription fee. So, like, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can get it that way, or you can just buy it outright for $10 that way. Once again, for transparency, I will release the comedy special for free on the YouTube once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So you can also just hit the subscriber button and just do that. You can support that way, whichever way you want to support. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. I don't necessarily use it the way everybody else does, but I'm there if you want to find me. AKA Black Zeus is the person to find on those platforms.